Hi, this is Heidi from Garden Crossings, and Rod and I are out in the greenhouse tonight. It's a Saturday night, and it's been a long busy day, and he says it's date night. So yeah, we really know how to have a good time on a Saturday night, but we decided, it's mid-May, and we have not planted one single thing yet for our yard. So we thought we better get to it and just get something planted for ourselves. So we're going to be planting up probably about 6 different AquaPots tonight, a whole bunch of other things as well. But some of you have asked in the videos, what does an AquaPot look like before it's all planted up? So that's what I'm going to show you right now. Rod's going through and he's getting them all cleaned up. So I thought before we dump the dirt in, let's take a look at the inside of an AquaPot. So Rod's cleaning up all the AquaPots. We dumped all the dirt and such out of them last fall when we were done with them for this season. But they've just been kind of sitting in the greenhouse, and we need to get them cleaned up and ready to go for this year. So for those of you that are curious what it looks like inside of an AquaPot, this is pretty much what the inside looks like. These have yet to be cleaned out, so let's look at the one he just cleaned. So an AquaPot is a pot that has no drainage hole in the bottom, because that would defeat the whole water reservoir purpose. But there is a drain hole on the side, so you can only put so much water in it, and then the excess will drain out, because if it just kept filling with water, you'd have a soupy mess. So if you look inside the AquaPot, you can see there's kind of this rim here, and that is what holds the device that we're going to plant on top of. So I'm going to have Rod go ahead and just show us, first of all, before he puts it in, what the insert looks like. So the tubular thing goes down into the water reservoir, and there's slots on the side of it, and that's where the water goes through, and then that tube goes all the way down to the bottom of the pot. So we'll fill soil all the way down there into the bottom of the pot, and then as the roots of the plants kind of grow in there, they're going to absorb the water through the soil. So when we fill up our AquaPots, we'll fill the soil up almost to the edge, about an inch or inch and a half below the rim, and then you can see there's another little hole there, and that's where the drain tube goes, or the fill tube goes into. So we'll have him, he's cleaning that out here in a minute. So he's just making sure there's no blockage or anything in that drain tube, no dirt, and he's gonna slip that right there in the hole. So that's where you'll put your hose up into here to fill the water reservoir on the bottom. I had mentioned there's a hole on the side of these pots, and it's right there, and that's where any excess water will drain out of. So this pot here is now prepped and ready, so we're gonna fill that up with soil, and then we're going to plant it. One thing I will say is when you are filling these up with soil, you'll want to saturate the soil starting off from the top down, because obviously water can't wick up if it's dry down at the bottom. So for the first few waterings, we'll water from the top down to let all the soil get saturated, and then once we feel comfortable that the soil is saturated, then we just will fill it up through that tube there. And usually it's about once a week that we need to fill these, and any excess will just drain out the side. I do say though, if you are in a warmer area and if you have a smaller AquaPot, you may want to check it until you kind of really get the feel of how much your plants are drinking, because some plants are thirstier than others. So we're going to finish getting these cleaned up, and then we will start getting them all planted up. All right, now it's time for the fun. Rod's going to be shoveling dirt, or I shouldn't call it dirt. This is potting soil. He's shoveling potting soil from this 80 cubic foot bag. So these are the type of bags that we use when we're filling up our annuals in our 4.5 inch containers. So this gets put into a machine that basically it's a flat filler that fills all of our little pots for us. So this is also comes in quite handy when we need to fill up these giant containers. So we just grab a shovel and pack the soil in there. So he's going to get it packed in pretty tight. He's not going to fill it all the way to the top though, because we want to have room for when we're planting the plants in. We can always come through and add any extra soil if we need to, if we don't have enough in there. So let the scooping begin. So he's making sure that he's tucking all the soil down into the tube down in the bottom there of the AquaPot, because you want to have the soil going all the way to the bottom in that tube. Same thing in the crescent pots. You want to make sure you fill all the legs with the soil as well. You want to be careful that you don't get soil down your fill tube, because then you're going to have a lot of dirt down there hanging out in your water.
Well, you just seen us fill these AquaPots and crescent planters with our professional 80 cubic foot bags of soil. But realistically, for the homeowner or yourself, we do sell the Espoma organic potting mix and the moisture mix here as well. The difference is the moisture mix will hold water a little bit better than the potting soil. And what I'm going to suggest is, because I'm potting inside the AquaPots, I'm going to use the normal potting soil, because I got a feeling that the moisture mix is going to hold a little too much water with the AquaPots, and I'm going to see a little bit more rot going on and too much moisture in there during the summer months. So if you're planting in a non-reservoir pot, I would suggest going with the moisture mix. But since we're not, we're going to use the organic potting mix, and that's very similar to what we filled in when we filled these pots with our professional mix. One more thing I would like to add is I encourage anybody, AquaPots, not AquaPots, use brand new potting soil every year. You go to spend the money for the plants to put in it, you're hoping it all looks well, and there's so many people that leave soil in the bottom of their pots from last year. And it's so much better to start new. It's just a small investment overall, and it just will improve the quality of your product or your plants over the course of the summer.
So we're getting ready now to plant up our AquaPots. We went ahead and kind of pre-placed all of the different things that we want to do. We're going to start off with the palm tree pots, and pretty much every single plant in this pot is a new for 2023 variety. So it's a little bit of a assortment of everything. That's not my typical style, but for these pots in front of our house, every year I always plant all the new for 2023 varieties. Now I realize we're packing this really full, and also I know that some of these things we're not going to see by the end of the season, but that's okay. Like, every plant shines in its time. So I'm going to have Rod go ahead and grab the plant out, and then I'm going to tell you the name of the plant. So the first plant we have here, this is a new Supertunia for 2023. It's nearly black, although it does have a little bit of that purple undertone in it, and it is a Vista, a mini Vista. This is a Supertunia Mini Vista Midnight. Look at that beautiful dark bloom. The next plant Rod's gathering is another mini Vista, and this is the Supertunia Mini Vista Yellow. The mini Vistas are great for in the landscape as well as in containers. This beautiful kind of a bi-color bloom, this is the Supertunia persimmon petunia. It's got a beautiful yellow eye with kind of a peachy orange outer edge. Another great addition to the Supertunia family. And last but not least, this is a new Super Bell for 2023. And this is Super Bell's Prism. It's a new series, Pink Lemonade. Look at that beautiful pink and yellow flower there. Now we're going to get into some of the just different type plants. These are going to be more of like the proven accent type plants. This here is a Swedish ivy. Look at the beautiful bicolors of the green with the nice creamy edges. This is going to be one that can get 6 to 18 inches tall and wide and kind of drape over in containers. Next, this one here is the big leaf creeping wire vine. It's really a nice vine. You can use it up trellises, or we're going to use it in the pot kind of hanging over the edge is kind of a filler spiller. Next, we have one of the new sweet potato vines. This is part of the Illusion series. This is Illusion Penny Lace. It's got that beautiful garnet leaves on it, heavily serrated. Really pretty, so we'll see how this looks in the container as kind of a spiller in the front of our pot. Next, we have a new coleus. This one is called Color Blaze Mini Me Watermelon. So Mini Me Watermelon is a new series, the Mini Me series. This particular one will get 12 to 20 inches tall, and we're using it in the container, kind of in the back of the container. This can grow in full sun to part shade locations. The next plant we have here is a beautiful new Osteospermum. This is part of the Bright Light series. This is Bright Light's Horizon Sunset. And it's got these beautiful kind of corally orange with that nice purple eye. This will get 8 to 12 inches tall and about 10 to 18 inches wide. Now in my planter, it probably won't get quite that big, but if you have it in the landscape, that's the size it can get. The nice thing with the Bright Light series is even when it starts getting hot in the summer, this plant continues to take the heat and keep on blooming. The next one we have here is a beautiful new lantana. This is Luscious Royale Lemon Tart. Beautiful, crisp, clean yellow flowers. Lemon Tart can get 12 to 26 inches tall and 12 to 24 inches wide when planted in the landscape. And that's a great plant for full sun, and the hummingbirds love it. And last but not least, we have a beautiful new Nemesia. This is part of the Aromance family, so nice and fragrant. This is called Aromance Mulberry, and it's got beautiful shades of purple on it. This can get 10 to 18 inches tall and 12 to 18 inches wide, and it likes to be grown in full sun to part sun locations, and I think it's just really pretty. I'm excited for this new color of Nemesia. So those are some of the new annuals for 2022. Now we're going to have Rod go ahead and get these planted. It's now time for Rod. He is going to go ahead and get these AquaPots planted. The planter that he's currently planting is the new for 2023 varieties. I like to plant them all in one container just so I can kind of see all together how they do through the summer. So when I do plant these trial plants, I not only plant them in planters, we also go in the landscape with them as well, because different plants will perform differently in the landscape than what they do in containers. And I think it's great for us to be able to trial them in several different locations, both here at the greenhouse and at my home. And some of these might even make it up to the up north garden as well, which is even just a little bit cooler of a climate. So what we're going to do with the palm tree is we're going to rip it out of this pot here. And because these planters are going up against the garage, they have a definitive back to them. So this is going to go right up against the back of the pot. The other thing too, as he's planting, is I'm a very symmetrical person, and these are going to be planted symmetrically but also mirrored. So meaning if the plant is on the outer edge of one side of the garage, it's going to be on the opposite outer edge of the other side of the garage. So mirror image of how we're planting them up. So we just pulled them all out of the pot, but I have the other ones in the pot in the back there so he can kind of look at what is in them so he knows where I had them placed. So we'll see if he figures out the mirror image thing. He's good. So in these planters, the soil is approximately an inch, inch and a half off the top of the planter. We might fill a little bit more soil in, but I do like to leave just a little bit of a lip there. That way, well, these are AquaPots, so they're watering from the bottom up. But when I'm planting other containers that aren't AquaPots, I like to leave a little bit of a reservoir at the top, so that way when you put your water in, it kind of has a little bit of a collection basin before it just all flows over the edge onto the ground. So these are getting planted in a full sun location, and all the plants that I've chosen for this particular pot are for full sun. He's doing a good job of making sure he's putting them in the right place. Every time he's planting, he's eyeing the pot behind it to see where they need to go. Sweet potato vine, that's going to go right up in front because I want that to kind of trail over in the front of the pot. We'll see how this does. Sometimes sweet potato vines can get pretty aggressive, and by the end of the summer, like my plants are all looking great, but I feel like the sweet potato vine is just taking over. So I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I do pull them out before the summer is done. So we'll just see how aggressive this new variety is. I'm not so sure about that wire vine, what that's going to do, so that's really a big trial for me in these pots. We're putting some of the upright plants in the middle and towards the back, and then we're lining the front with the Mini Vista Supertunias as well as the Super Bells, because they're going to trail over the front of the container. Oh, he's questioning himself. Good job. All right, so he's got it all planted up here. We might fill in a little bit more soil if we feel like we need to. What do you think, Rod? More soil, or are we good?
I think we're good.
He says we're good. So we're gonna go ahead and water that in from the top down for the first couple times of watering, and then we'll be watering it through that water reservoir. The other thing I want to point out is every week when you refill your AquaPots, it's good to put some water soluble fertilizer down the hole. That way your plants are constantly getting fed as well. All right, so now the next AquaPot he's planting up, let's have him show us the plants that are going in this one. So this is a mix of new and of old. So this is, you took my tag out. What's it called? Oh, there we go. Queen Tut. So Queen Tut is a new cypress in the Tut family, and this is going to have a little bit smaller of a, it's not really a flower, but we're going to call it that, I guess, tuft at the top. So I'm excited to see how that goes. We're going to use the Sparkling Amethyst Verbena. That's one of my favorite verbenas, so we're going to see how that does. I know it does great. The Aromance Mulberry Nemesia again. And again, I don't know how that's going to do either. It'll probably get eaten up by my petunias, but it'll have its place in space, at least in the beginning of the season. These are new Coral Sun Super Bells. These were new. I think this is the first year these have been introduced. Not my color scheme, but we're going to give it a try because sometimes you got to try new things. And then last but not least, I know this is going to be kind of one of those tried and true. This is the Trailing Strawberry Veined Supertunia. So these are going to trail over the pots really nicely along with the Super Bells. So let's go ahead and watch Rod as he gets this planted too. So this pot has a center to it. So the grass, the Queen Tut, is going to go in the center of the pot because this one is going to be seen from all of the sides. So that's going to be the Thriller in this container. And then we're going to kind of alternate. So we have an odd number of the verbena, but we're going to alternate the Supertunias, Super Bells, and the Nemesia. And then we'll just put the verbena probably toward, well, I guess we can rotate the pot, however. So it'll either be in the front or in the back, depending on how we place the pot once we get it home. Okay, so what he's contemplating right now, I don't know if you noticed, he kind of stopped and did a little thinking here, is he's kind of rethinking what he's doing. So he's putting the nemesia over his fill hole, because if he puts the petunia over that, there's a good chance that petunia is just going to take over and cover up the fill hole. Obviously, you'll be able to find it, but you're going to have to dig through your petunia every time you're looking for it. And then sometimes that can make your petunia look ugly because you're going to create kind of a hole as you're digging for it every time looking for the tube to refill the AquaPot with. One thing to mention is cypress are water-loving plants. So in these AquaPots, those cypress grasses should do really well. One thing that we found is by the end of the summer, the root ball of that grass goes well down into that bottom tube reservoir that's in the bottom of the AquaPot. So this plant can get really, I'm going to say rooty, but it's because it's just thriving on all the water that it's getting in the AquaPot. So let's take a closer look here at this particular planter. Kind of a mix of pinks and purples and oranges. So I'm really excited to see how this fills out as the summer goes along. This is Heidi in Rod from Garden Crossings.